George W. Bush was elected as the United States President in 2000. He portrayed himself as a family man who could unite the nation and promised to restore traditional values. He wanted to downsize the federal government, rebuild the military, and transfer programs from the federal government to the states. By pledging a huge tax cut of $1.3 trillion over 10 years, Bush cemented support from conservatives. In 2002, reforming temporary assistance for needy families was scheduled to be reauthorized, but different approaches emerged. Conservatives wanted to cut back federal funding for social services, while liberals wanted to provide resources to allow states to place more emphasis on upgrading recipient job skills or helping them to get a high school diploma or college degree. The National Association of Social Workers wanted to upgrade the workforce employed by welfare agencies because few workers possessed a bachelor's degree in social sciences and much less in social work. Many also do not possess skills to work with former welfare recipients. Due to political party conflicts, the reauthorization of temporary assistance for needy families by Congress did not occur until spring, with few changes being made in legislation. September 11, 2001, the United States was attacked by terrorists. Two planes were hijacked and slammed into the Twin Towers of the World Trade Center in New York City. An additional two planes were hijacked, with one crashing into the Pentagon and the last crashing into Pennsylvania Field. The nation was left in shock by the number of casualties and by the graphic images put out by mass media. The nation learned within a couple of days that the culprit was a terrorist organization based in Afghanistan known as Al-Qaeda that was led by Osama bin Laden. As a result of 9/11, everything changed. Immediately, Bush declared a war on terrorism after September 11th, and this became the main focus of his administration. He pressured Congress to enact a war resolution giving Bush the authority to use military force to attack terrorist forces anywhere in the world. The nation took domestic measures to diminish the risk of further terrorist attacks. Security precautions were increased at the nation's airports, and Congress enacted the U.S. Patriot Act. Bin Laden withdrew to Afghanistan, where the Taliban gave him protection. Bush issued an ultimatum to the Taliban to turn over bin Laden or face invasion. When the Taliban refused, Bush ordered a massive bombing campaign in Afghanistan that quickly followed by the introduction of ground troops. Bush then shifted his focus from the economy and domestic issues to Iraq, claiming that Saddam Hussein had weapons of mass destruction. Bush pledged to remove his weapons of mass destruction if Hussein did not remove them himself. In March 2003, the U.S. invaded Iraq, and Iraq's infrastructures were destroyed in the bombings. As a result of war, Iraq needed large amounts of money to spend on infrastructures and social programs. Nations were willing to help pay for the reconstruction, but Bush refused, stating that the U.S. would not take the lead. Hurricane Katrina hit New Orleans and western Mississippi on August 29, 2005. A mandatory evacuation was issued for New Orleans, but about 15,000 residents, composed of mostly African Americans, stayed because they were poor and had no way to leave. Hurricane Katrina caused more devastation than any other hurricane in recorded American history. After Hurricane Katrina, Bush promised to deliver one of the largest reconstruction efforts that the nation has ever seen. Reconstruction of New Orleans and the Gulf Coast required a regional planning process to orchestrate it, but this was not done, and the resulting reconstruction was slow and disorganized. The federal government failed to build adequate amounts of affordable housing and also failed to sufficiently subsidize the ruined public system of health care. Overall, Bush increased federal spending for education, included tax concessions for low-income Americans in legislation, increased funding of programs to prevent HIV/AIDS, and he added coverage of prescription drugs to the Medicare program. However, Bush's domestic accomplishments were minimal, and he will be remembered for his controversial foreign policy.